The great meeting hall of the Galactic Exploration Consortium buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 73 different species sat in their special chairs and breathing tanks, all staring at the hologram floating above the center table. The planet rotating slowly in the blue light looked beautiful from space, with swirling clouds and bright oceans. But everyone in the room knew the truth about Kepler 442c. Class 15 Lethal World, announced Director Zakth, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. The insect-like alien's mandibles clicked with worry. The highest danger level we have ever recorded. A low murmur went through the crowd. The snake-like Scythians hissed in their tubes. The crystal beings called Zephyrians chimed like broken bells. Even the mighty Nexus Empire robots seemed to shrink in their metal shells. The acid rain can melt through our strongest ships in minutes, continued the director. The gravity is 3 times what most of us can survive. The air pressure would crush a battle tank. The temperature changes from freezing cold to burning hot every day. And the local animals, he paused. They hunt by moving through space itself. Admiral Thisiska of the Ethereal Collective floated forward, her gas form shimmering. My people tried to send a probe last year. The atmospheric chemicals dissolved it before it reached the ground. Our cybernetic scouts lasted 47 minutes. Added General Binary of the Nexus Empire. The electromagnetic storms fried their circuits. My crystal warriors shattered just from the landing impact, said Resonance Prime of the Zephyrians. One by one, every species explained why their people could not survive on this deadly world. The consortium had been studying Kepler 442c for 5 years, and no one had even managed to stay alive on the surface for more than a few hours. Director Zakth looked around the room with all 4 eyes. We need to map this planet. Our sensors show massive energy readings from deep underground. There might be technology there, or resources we need. Perhaps we should declare it impossible, suggested Admiral Thisiska. Some places are not meant for exploration. Wait, said a small voice from the back corner. All heads turned to see Ambassador Chen from the human embassy. He was a small man compared to most aliens, wearing a simple blue uniform. Many species still thought of humans as newcomers to the galaxy, only joining the consortium 50 years ago. What about humans? He asked. The room fell silent. Then, someone started laughing. It was a Nexus Empire robot, making electronic giggling sounds. Soon, others joined in. The Scythians hissed with amusement. The Zephyrians rang like wind chimes. Humans. Admiral Thisiska's gas form rippled with what might have been humor. Your species is so fragile, you need exactly the right air to breathe. You die if you get too hot or too cold. You can barely survive on your own planet. Ambassador Chen smiled. That's exactly why we might work. Director Zakth leaned forward with interest. He had studied human history and found it fascinating. Explain. We're used to impossible odds, Chen said. We lived through ice ages and heat waves. We survived asteroid impacts and super volcanoes. We built cities in deserts and at the bottom of oceans. Every day on Earth tried to kill us. So we learned to adapt. But the gravity alone would crush you, protested General Binary. We have people who work in high-gravity training chambers. Pilots who can handle 20 times Earth gravity in emergency situations. The acid rain? We've lived with pollution and toxic environments for centuries. We know how to build shelters and make protective equipment. The electromagnetic storms would destroy your technology. Chen grinned. We still remember how to make things work without computers. Give a human engineer some metal and fire, and they'll build you a radio. Director Zakth's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Do you really think humans could survive there? I know exactly who to send, Chen said. Commander Elena Vasquez has survived 3 impossible missions. Dr. James Chen mapped a planet next to a black hole. Sergeant Maya Okafor once rebuilt her own legs with spare parts while under enemy fire. He continued, describing each team member. Dr. Alexei Petrov who had crawled through an active volcano to study its core. Zara al-Rashid, who kept communications working while trapped in a time bubble for 3 subjective years. Rex Martinez, who crash-landed a ship with no engines and still managed to take off again. The room grew quiet as they listened. These humans sounded more like myths than real people. "Fine," said Director Zacht finally. "But we want to make this interesting." He looked around at the other species. "Betting pools are now open. How long will the humans survive on Kepler 442c?" The numbers started flying. Most bets were for less than 6 hours. The highest was 2 days. Placed by a particularly optimistic ethereal, Admiral Tisiska put down the final wager. 4 hours and 42 minutes. They'll call for rescue before the first night cycle. Ambassador Chen quietly placed his own bet. They won't call for rescue at all. The room erupted in laughter again. But this time, Chen didn't smile. He knew something the others didn't. Humans had a saying that the galaxy was still learning. Hold my beer and watch this. 3 days later, the human team launched toward Kepler 442c in their modified exploration ship. The consortium's betting pools had reached record numbers, and everyone was watching their screens, waiting to see how quickly the humans would break. They had no idea they were about to witness something that would change galactic exploration forever. The shuttle broke through Kepler 442c's thick atmosphere like a bullet through soup. Commander Elena Vasquez gripped her chair as the ship shook and rattled around them. Warning lights flashed red across every surface, and the computer kept saying "danger" in 12 different languages. "Gravity readings are off the charts," called out Rex Martinez from the pilot seat. His knuckles were white on the controls. "It's like trying to land on a giant magnet." "Hull temperature rising," added Dr. Petrov, checking his instruments. "The atmosphere is eating through our outer plating." Through the small window, Elena could see the surface approaching fast. It looked like a nightmare, painted in shades of red and black. Volcanoes spat fire into the sky, and lightning danced between purple clouds. The ground was covered in what looked like moving shadows. "Those shadows are alive," said Dr. Chen, pressing his face to the window. "Fascinating. They seem to be existing in multiple dimensions at once." "Focus, people," Elena commanded. "Rex, find us a landing spot." "Working on it," Rex muttered. He pulled the shuttle into a sharp dive, avoiding a stream of acid rain that would have melted their ship in seconds. There. That rocky area between the lava flows. Rom. The landing was more like a controlled crash. The shuttle hit the ground hard, bounced twice, and slid to a stop near a cluster of black rocks. Steam hissed from the hull, where acid droplets had already started eating through the metal. "Welcome to hell," said Sergeant Okafor, checking her weapons. "Population. Us." Elena looked around at her team. They were already moving with practiced efficiency. Dr. Chen was taking readings of the local life forms. Dr. Petrov was studying the ground composition. Zara was trying to boost their communication signal back to the consortium ships in orbit. "We need shelter, fast," Elena said. "This acid rain will eat through our suits in less than an hour." "I see some caves over there." Petrov pointed toward a cliff face, about 100 meters away. "Volcanic formation. Should be stable." They gathered their essential equipment and made a run for it. The gravity was crushing, like wearing 3 of themselves on their backs. Each step was a struggle, and the acid rain hissed when it hit their protective suits. They almost made it to the caves when the shadows attacked. The creatures came out of nowhere, literally. One moment the path was clear. The next it was full of black, shifting shapes with too many teeth. They moved wrong, like they were stepping sideways through reality itself. "Phase hunters," Dr. Chen said with excitement, even as one of them tried to bite his head off. "They're moving through dimensional rifts. Incredible." "Save the science lesson," Okafor shouted, firing her plasma rifle. The energy beam passed right through the creature without touching it. "They're not fully in our dimension. Elena drew her sidearm and started shooting. But the bullets went through the monsters like they were made of smoke. Ideas, people? Try the gravitational harmonics, Petrov suggested, pulling out a small device. If they're phase shifting, maybe we can force them back into our reality. He pressed some buttons, and the device started humming. Suddenly, the shadow creatures became solid. Okafor's next plasma blast sent one flying into a lava pool. Nice work, Elena said. They reached the caves just as more phase hunters arrived. Inside the volcanic tubes, they found blessed relief from the acid rain and crushing gravity. The rock walls provided some protection from both. Zara, any luck with communications? Elena asked. Getting something, Al-Rashid replied, working with a tangle of wires and electronic parts. The electromagnetic storms are constant, but I can boost our signal if I turn the shuttle's hull into a giant antenna. Do it. While Zara worked on communications, the others set up their base camp. Petrov used his geological scanner to map the cave system, finding a network of tunnels that stretched for kilometers underground. Okafor started building defensive positions and tools from their spare equipment. Chen studied samples of everything he could find. On their second day, one of the phase hunters came back. But it wasn't attacking. It sat outside their camp like a curious dog, tilting its head when Chen talked to it. I think it likes the gravitational field from Petrov's device, Chen said. It makes it easier for the creature to stay in our dimension. You're not seriously thinking of keeping it as a pet, Elena said. Why not? Look at it. The phase hunter was indeed acting more like a friendly animal than a deadly predator. Chen tossed it a piece of their emergency food, and the creature caught it with what might have been gratitude. I'll call him Schrödinger, Chen decided, since he exists in multiple states at once. By the third day, they had accomplished something no other species had managed. Not only were they still alive, they were building a permanent camp. Okafor had constructed a workshop. In one of the larger caves, Petrov had found mineral deposits that could power their equipment for months. Chen had domesticated 2 more phase hunters. Zara finally managed to establish contact with the consortium ships. Human team to consortium control, she transmitted. Do you copy? We copy, came the amazed reply. Status report. Do you need immediate evacuation? Elena took the communicator. Negative on evacuation. We're setting up permanent research stations. The geology here is incredible. We might be looking at materials that could revolutionize space travel. There was a long silence from orbit. Say again? Did you say permanent stations? Affirmative. We're not leaving. This place is too valuable to abandon. But the betting pools. Tell everyone who bet against us that they owe Ambassador Chen a drink, Elena said with a smile. We're not just surviving down here. We're making this place home. As if to prove her point, Schrödinger, the phase hunter, came trotting into the cave, carrying what looked like a rare mineral in his teeth. He dropped it at Chen's feet and made a sound that might have been a purr. Above them, acid rain continued to fall. Volcanoes belched fire, and electromagnetic storms raged across the sky. But inside their cave, the humans were building something that had never existed on Kepler 442c before. Hope. 3 weeks after landing, Elena noticed the planet was getting angry. It started small. The acid rain seemed to aim for their equipment specifically. A perfectly good shelter would be fine in the morning, then melted by afternoon, while the rocks next to it remained untouched. The phase hunters they hadn't befriended began coordinating attacks in ways Dr. Chen said were impossible for wild animals. Look at this pattern, Chen said, showing Elena his notes. Yesterday, Pack A attacked our north camp at exactly 0800 hours. Pack B hit the south camp at 0900. Pack C went for the communications array at 1000. That's military precision. Animals don't tell time, Elena agreed. Someone's organizing them. The volcanic activity was getting worse, too. Dr. Petrov had mapped 17 stable lava tubes on their first week. Now only 3 were safe, and new vents kept opening exactly where the humans wanted to expand their base. The seismic patterns don't make sense, Petrov said, staring at his readings. Volcanoes don't just change their eruption schedules. It's like something underground is controlling them. Zara had the strangest reports of all. The electromagnetic storms are following mathematical patterns, she told Elena. Complex ones. Yesterday's storm played out the first 50 digits of pi. Today's is doing prime numbers. Storms don't do math, Elena said. These ones do. That night, Elena called a team meeting in their main cave. Schrödinger and his 2 friends lay sleeping by the warm rocks, making soft, purring sounds. They looked peaceful, but Elena could see the intelligence in their eyes even when they slept. Something's wrong with this planet, she began. Or rather, something's very right with it. Too right. She laid out the evidence. The targeted attacks, the mathematical storms, the way the volcanic activity seemed to respond to their presence. Even the phase hunters showed signs of being more than just animals. I think this world is thinking, Elena said. Planets don't think, objected Martinez, though he sounded uncertain. This one might, said Dr. Chen. I've been studying the local biology for weeks. Everything here is too perfect, too well adapted. The phase hunters can exist in multiple dimensions. The acid-resistant plants can survive temperature changes that should kill anything. The rock formations channel electromagnetic energy like they were designed to. Dr. Petrov nodded. The mineral composition is impossible too. I found elements that shouldn't exist naturally, arranged in patterns that look almost like circuit boards. Circuit boards? Elena asked. Miles of them, running through the planet's crust. As if the whole world is one giant computer. Zara looked up from her equipment. That would explain the mathematical storms. Maybe the planet is trying to communicate. Or trying to scare us away, Elena said. Every other species that came here ran within hours. We're the first to stay long enough to notice the patterns. As if summoned by their conversation, the ground started shaking. But this wasn't like the random earthquakes they'd experienced before. This tremor had rhythm, like a giant heartbeat deep underground. Schrödinger opened his eyes and made a worried whining sound. The other phase hunters stirred nervously. He's scared, Chen observed. And these creatures can travel between dimensions. What would scare something like that? The answer came an hour later. The largest electromagnetic storm they'd ever seen rolled across the sky, filled with lights that formed shapes and symbols. For a moment, Elena could have sworn she saw something that looked like a face in the swirling energy, vast, ancient, and very, very angry. It knows we're here, Zara whispered. It knows we're not leaving. The storm hit their camp with focused fury. Lightning struck their communication array repeatedly. The temperature dropped so fast that ice formed on their equipment despite the volcanic heat all around them. Acid rain fell in sheets so thick they couldn't see 10 feet outside their cave. But the humans didn't run. Instead, Elena ordered them to dig deeper. If this planet wants a fight, we'll give it one. But we do this our way. Okafor started building reinforced tunnels using techniques she'd learned in siege warfare. Petrov mapped underground routes that would let them move safely during storms. Chen continued studying the local creatures, learning how they survived the planet's fury. And Zara did something incredible. She began talking back to the storms. The electromagnetic patterns repeat every 47 minutes, she explained, working with a device she'd built from spare parts. If I time it right, I can send our own signals during the quiet periods. Signals saying what? Elena asked. Hello. We're here. We're staying. The response was immediate and terrifying. The next storm lasted 6 hours and was strong enough to melt sand into glass. But hidden in the chaos, Zara detected something that made her gasp. "It answered," she said in amazement. The planet answered back. "What did it say?" Elena asked. Zara looked pale. "Go away. Danger. Death. Over and over. It's warning us to leave." Elena stared at the storm raging outside their cave. Lightning painted the world in harsh white light, and thunder shook dust from the ceiling. But she smiled. "It's not trying to kill us," she realized. "It's trying to save us." "From what?" Chen asked. "From itself. This planet has been alone so long it's forgotten how to be friendly. It only knows how to protect itself by scaring everyone away." She turned to her team. "Change of plans. We're not fighting this world anymore. We're going to make friends with it." Outside, the storm raged on. But Elena thought she heard something different in the thunder now. Not anger, but loneliness. The sound of something vast and intelligent that had been alone for so very long that it had forgotten how to trust. "Don't worry," she whispered to the storm. "We're not going anywhere. Humans are good at making friends with impossible things." Schrödinger opened one eye and made a sound that might have been agreement. Even phase hunters, it seemed, understood loneliness. 6 months after landing, something impossible happened. The acid rain in Sector 7 became less acidic. Dr. Petrov noticed it first during his morning readings. "The pH levels around our main camp have improved by 30%, he announced. "Either my instruments are broken, or the planet is getting friendlier." Elena checked his readings herself. The numbers were clear. In areas where humans had established permanent settlements, the environment was becoming less hostile. Not safe, still far too dangerous for most species, but less actively trying to kill them. "It's learning," she realized. "The planet is figuring out how much we can handle." This discovery changed everything. Instead of just surviving, they started working with their environment. When Okafor built new tunnels, she followed the natural rock formations, rather than fighting them. When Chen studied the local creatures, he helped them, instead of just observing them. When Petrov took geological samples, he filled in the holes and left the area better than he found it. And slowly, carefully, the planet began to respond. The phase hunters stopped attacking entirely. In fact, Schrödinger and his pack started bringing the humans gifts, strange minerals, interesting plants, even small technological artifacts they found in deep caves. Chen had domesticated 12 of them, and they acted more like helpful dogs than interdimensional predators. "Look at this," Chen said, showing Elena a crystalline device one of the phase hunters had brought him. "It's some kind of processor, but the technology is millions of years old, and it's still working." "Working how?" "I'm not sure yet, but I think it's part of the planet's nervous system. Like a brain cell, but the size of a football." Dr. Petrov made similar discoveries. His deep mining operations revealed networks of these crystal processors buried throughout the planet's crust. They were connected by mineral veins that conducted electricity better than any human technology. "The whole planet is one giant thinking machine," he explained to Elena. "Every volcano, every storm, every geological formation is connected to this underground network." Meanwhile, Zara had made real progress in communicating with the planetary intelligence. Her modified equipment could now send and receive complex signals through the electromagnetic storms. The conversations were still basic, mostly emotional concepts, rather than detailed ideas. But they were definitely conversations. "It's curious about us now," she reported. "The messages have changed from, 'Go away,' to, 'What are you? And why do you stay?'" Elena asked Zara to send a message back. "We stay because we want to be friends." The response took 3 days. When it came, it was in the form of the gentlest electromagnetic storm any of them had ever experienced. The lights in the sky formed patterns that looked almost like question marks. It doesn't understand the concept, Zara translated. It knows domination and destruction, but not cooperation. It's been alone so long, it forgot how to share space with other thinking beings. That night, Elena called another team meeting. The humans had built a comfortable meeting room in their expanded cave system, complete with furniture carved from the local rock and heating systems that used geothermal energy. Schrödinger and his pack lay nearby, no longer guards, but genuine companions. We need to show the planet what friendship looks like, Elena said. Not just tell it, but demonstrate it. Over the following weeks, they developed what they called the adaptation protocol. Instead of taking from the planet, they started giving back. Okafor's engineering projects helped stabilize some of the more dangerous volcanic areas. Chen's biological work improved the health of local ecosystems. Petrov's geological surveys helped the planet optimize its own underground systems. Most importantly, they included the planetary intelligence in their decisions. We want to build a new research station near the northern lava fields, Elena said during one of their communication sessions. The response came as a mild earthquake that spelled out yes in seismic waves. We need to mine some rare minerals for our equipment. We can do it without damaging the local ecosystem. This time, the planet responded by opening up a previously hidden cave system filled with exactly the materials they needed, already extracted and waiting for them. It was learning to help. The breakthrough came when Dr. Chen made an incredible discovery. While studying the crystal processors, he realized they contained data, vast amounts of information stored in quantum patterns that had been preserved for millions of years. Elena, you need to see this, he called excitedly. He had connected one of the processors to his analysis equipment, and the readings made his hands shake. This isn't just a thinking machine, it's a library. The planet has been saving information about every species that ever visited. Including the ones that built it? She asked. Especially them. Elena, I think we've found the galaxy's oldest archive. Technologies, cultures, histories of civilizations that died out before our species learned to make fire. The implications were staggering. But more important was what this meant about the planet's behavior. It's not just defending itself, Elena realized. It's protecting something precious. All this knowledge, all this history. It's the last guardian of lost civilizations. That evening, Elena composed the most important message they had ever sent to the planetary intelligence. We understand now. You're not just a world. You're a keeper of memories. A guardian of knowledge that mustn't be lost. We don't want to take from you. We want to help you preserve and protect what you're guarding. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every volcano on the planet erupted at once, but not with destruction, with celebration. The lava flows formed patterns visible from space, spelling out symbols of gratitude in languages older than recorded history. For the first time in millions of years, the planet's defenses powered down. The acid rain stopped. The temperature stabilized. The crushing gravity lessened to merely uncomfortable, rather than deadly. And in the electromagnetic storms that night, Zara detected something that made her cry with joy. What is it? Elena asked. It said thank you, Zara whispered. In 17 different extinct languages. The planet just said, thank you. Outside their cave, Schrödinger looked up at the gentle aurora dancing across the now peaceful sky and made a sound that could only be described as contentment. After millions of years of loneliness and fear, Kepler 442c had finally found something it had forgotten how to hope for. It had found friends. 2 years after the first landing, Commander Elena Vasquez stood in what had once been the most dangerous place in the galaxy. The crystal garden around her sparkled with gentle light, growing where acid geysers used to spout death. Schrödinger rolled on his back nearby, playing with 3 young phase hunter cubs that had been born in the human settlement. The transformation was miraculous. Where lava once flowed uncontrolled, It now powered clean energy systems that the humans and the planet had designed together. The electromagnetic storms had become aurora displays that painted beautiful pictures across the sky. The crushing gravity varied from area to area, creating zones where different activities were comfortable. Most amazing of all, the planet had started creating new life forms specifically to help the humans. Gentle creatures that could carry heavy loads in high gravity, plants that cleaned the air and provided fresh food. Even the phase hunters had evolved, becoming more social and intelligent with each generation. "Zara, are you ready for the big transmission?" Elena asked through her communicator. "All systems are go," came the reply from the main communications center. "The Consortium Council is standing by, along with representatives from all member species. This should be interesting." Elena smiled. After 2 years of regular reports about the impossible human mission, the galactic community had finally agreed to a direct communication session with Kepler 442c itself. What they didn't know was that the planet had a request to make. She walked to the central communication array, a beautiful fusion of human technology and planetary crystal processing power. Dr. Chen was there, along with Dr. Petrov and Sergeant Okafor. They had all changed over the past 2 years. Stronger from the gravity, wiser from the challenges, and more confident in ways that only came from achieving the impossible. "Kepler 442c to Galactic Consortium," Elena transmitted. "This is Commander Vasquez. We're ready to begin." "Commander," came Director Zakth's voice, now filled with respect instead of doubt. "The entire council is listening. We understand your planet companion wishes to address us directly?" "That's correct. Zara, please establish the connection." Zara activated the quantum communication link that she and the planet had developed together. Suddenly, every speaker in the consortium meeting hall filled with a voice that was deep, ancient, and unmistakably alive. "Greetings, children of the stars," the planet said, its words translated into every language simultaneously. "I am the one you call Kepler 442c, though my makers named me Haven long ago." Silence filled the transmission. Elena could imagine the shock in the council chambers. The first time in galactic history that a planet had spoken directly to the consortium. "I have been alone for 4 million years, Haven continued. "When my creators died, I continued my purpose, to protect their knowledge and artifacts from those who would misuse them. I made myself terrible so that none would stay long enough to steal what I guarded." The voice grew warmer. "But humans are different. They did not come to conquer or steal. They came to understand. They offered friendship to a lonely guardian, and taught me that preservation is not the same as isolation." Elena watched her team with pride. Dr. Chen had tears in his eyes. Sergeant Okafor, the toughest person she knew, was openly smiling. Even the phase hunters seemed to understand the importance of this moment. "The knowledge I protect is meant to be shared, not hidden," Haven said. "My creators built me to be a bridge between civilizations, not a wall. The humans have reminded me of my true purpose." Director Zakth's voice came through, shaking with emotion. What are you asking of us?" "I wish to join your consortium as its first planetary member," Haven replied. "I offer my archives, the collected knowledge of 1,000 extinct civilizations, technologies that could advance your species by millennia, art, literature, and wisdom from cultures that existed before your stars were born." The silence stretched for a long moment. "And in return?" asked Admiral Thisiska. "Companionship, purpose, the chance to share what I have guarded for so long, and..." The planet's voice became almost shy. "Teachers who can help me remember how to be friendly again." "The humans would remain?" asked General Binary. "If they wish. They have become my partners in a great work, helping other species learn to explore dangerous worlds safely, using the knowledge of both humans and ancients." Elena stepped forward. "We wish to stay, This world has become our home, and Haven has become our friend. We're building something new here, a place where the galaxy's most dangerous environments can be studied and understood. A training center for impossible missions, added Dr. Chen. Humans working with an ancient intelligence to teach others how to survive where survival should be impossible. The debate in the council chambers went on for hours. Some species were afraid of a thinking planet. Others worried about the precedent. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Haven of Kepler 442c, announced Director Zacht formally. The Galactic Exploration Consortium welcomes you as our first planetary member. We look forward to learning from your ancient wisdom. The celebration could be heard across space. Haven's aurora danced with joy, painting the sky in colors that meant happiness in a dozen extinct languages. The phase hunters howled in harmony. Even the reformed volcanoes seemed to pulse with contentment. But the most touching moment came that evening. Elena was walking through the crystal garden when she heard Haven's voice, speaking quietly just to her. "Thank you," the ancient planet said. "For 4 million years, I forgot what hope felt like. I had resigned myself to eternal loneliness, protecting knowledge that no one would ever see. But you taught me that the best way to honor my creators is not to hide their legacy, but to share it." Elena looked up at the gentle aurora, painting stories across the sky. "You're not alone anymore, Haven. You have friends now, lots of them." "Yes," the planet agreed, and its voice carried a warmth that could melt glaciers. "I have learned that the universe is not meant to be survived alone. It is meant to be explored together, with friends to help carry the load and share the wonder." Schrödinger trotted up and nuzzled Elena's hand, then sat down to watch the light show above. Around them, the crystal garden sparkled with bioluminescent plants that Haven had grown just because Elena mentioned she missed seeing flowers. In the years that followed, Haven Station became the most famous location in the galaxy. Scientists came to study the ancient archives. Explorers trained for dangerous missions in Haven's controlled environments. Artists came to learn from cultures that had been creating beauty when the galaxy was young. And always, the humans were there as guides and friends, teaching others the most important lesson they had learned. That sometimes, the most dangerous places in the universe are just lonely, waiting for someone brave enough to offer friendship instead of conquest. The betting pools had long since been forgotten, but Ambassador Chen still kept the record of that first wager in his office. Next to it hung a picture of Elena and her team standing in the crystal garden, with Schrödinger and his cubs playing at their feet while Haven's aurora painted impossible colors across the sky. At the bottom of the picture, someone had written, "They sent humans to explore a Class 15 lethal world. The planet begged them to stay.